Hello and welcome to BreathSpace. Whether this is your first time joining us or whether you've been here from the start of our journey, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking this moment in the middle of your busy days, all the noises of life, and just choosing to pause, to breathe, and just to be. You may know that with each episode of Breath Space, we explore a theme, and a theme that touches upon something within us all. Something that helps us to meet ourselves with more honesty, compassion, and care. And so far, we've talked about self-compassion, about abundance, letting go, and receiving. And today we arrive at something that kind of sits quietly beneath all of these, and that is the feeling of enoughness. That understanding that you are already enough. It's the idea that you don't need to be more, you don't need to be better or different in order to be worthy. And that maybe you are already enough, exactly as you are right now. But if we're all honest, this isn't something that most of us were ever taught. Instead, we're taught to strive, to prove ourselves, to tie our value to how much we achieve, how well we perform, or how much we give to others. Somewhere along the way, we've picked up the story that I'll be enough when. So I'll be enough when I get that promotion. I'll be enough when I lose weight. I'll be enough when I finally get it all together. But what if that story isn't true? What if the real work isn't about becoming enough, but about remembering that we already are? And that's what we're going to explore together tonight. Not in a way that demands change or perfection, but in a way that invites reflection. In a way that lets you rest and lets you come home to yourself. So wherever you are right now, mentally, emotionally, physically, you are welcome here, exactly as you are, just as you are enough. And as always, I like to start with a story. And this one particularly resonates with me because I do like art myself. And this is about an artist who had a quiet studio on the edge of town. And he was really well known for his talent. His brushstrokes could capture such emotion. His colors spoke louder than words. His walls were filled with finished pieces, each one admired and celebrated, except for one. There was a single canvas, quite large, quite commanding, that sat at the far end of the room, unfinished. And it was years in the making. It was the only one that he couldn't walk away from. The only one that he had never signed. Because this painting wasn't just a piece of work. It was personal. It was a portrait, but not of someone else, but of something and everything that he had carried. Loss, grief, hope, growth. Parts of himself that he didn't show to anyone. And every time he stood in front of it, he saw the truth of who he was. And because of that, it never felt quite enough. It felt too raw, too flawed. So he would fix one part and then another part would feel wrong. And then he'd repaint or rework or erase and begin again. And not because the painting wasn't beautiful, but because he didn't feel worthy of it being finished. It's not ready, he would say. It's still missing something. Visitors would admire it. They would tell him that it was powerful, it was honest, it was moving. But praise couldn't reach past the voice in his own head that whispered, "You're not quite done yet. It's not quite there." And then one day, someone new stepped into his studio. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't offer any critique. They just stood quietly in front of this canvas for a long time. And finally, they turned to the artist and said, "This is one of the most real things I have ever seen." And that artist looked surprised. They looked at the canvas again. It's not finished," they replied. "Still not quite right." But the visitor just shook his head gently. "No, it's exactly as it needs to be." And that's why it moved me. And it was something in that sentence that cracked the surface for the artist. And he stepped closer, and for the first time, he looked not through the lens of correction, but through the lens of truth. He saw the layers, not just of paint, but of feeling. The strokes that were messy, the patches that weren't perfect, the places where he had hesitated, and the places where he had poured everything in. And suddenly, it didn't feel unfinished. It felt honest. It felt real. And it felt enough. So he picked up his brush, dipped it into the paint, and he signed his name right there in the corner. And not because the piece was perfect, but because it didn't need to be. It held everything it was meant to hold, just as it was. And sometimes we are that artist, looking at ourselves with the eyes of judgment, seeing what's missing instead of what's already there, refusing to sign off on our own worth until we reach some impossible version of enough. And maybe the thing that we're trying to fix is the thing that makes us whole. Maybe that feeling of enoughness isn't about doing more. It's about choosing to see ourselves clearly and saying, "This is me and this is enough." It sounds like such a simple idea, doesn't it? This is me and this is enough. And yet it's so difficult for many of us to believe. Because for so many of us, that story of not enough, it didn't come from nowhere. It has shaped us over time. It has layered into us. Psychologically, the belief that I'm not enough is one of the most common and deeply rooted narratives that people carry. And it can begin so early in childhood, where love was offered more freely when we did well, when we behaved, when we performed, when we got things right. Where praise came for achievement, but rarely for simply being. And then we learn quickly that love is earned, rest is a reward, value is based on usefulness. And from there, a belief is formed. If I just do more, or give more, or prove myself more, then maybe then I'll be enough. And culturally, this belief gets reinforced. We're surrounded by messages that tell us that we need to be better. We need to be more productive. We need to be more attractive. We need to be more successful. Every advertisement, every social media feed, Every self-improvement message are all whispering to us, you're not quite there yet. And then what happens is we stop seeing ourselves clearly. We see ourselves only in the gaps, in what's unfinished, in what's missing, in what we haven't yet become. And this creates what psychologists call a self-worth schema, a mental blueprint that says your value depends on your performance, on perfection or approval. And once that gets wired in, everything gets filtered through it. Even when you do something well, it just doesn't land. You start moving the goalposts, you raise the bar, you tell yourself it's not quite there. Because now, not enough has become your default lens. But here's the hopeful part. Beliefs can change. The amazing thing about the brain is that it remembers what we teach it. So not just the loud lessons of fear or failure, but the quiet, repeated truths of compassion. We've spoken about neuroplasticity before, and neuroplasticity doesn't just mean we can rewire, but it means we can reshape the stories that we tell ourselves. We can unlearn the beliefs that told us we weren't enough. And we can reclaim the ones that remind us that we were always enough. And this doesn't happen through force or perfection. It happens through presence, through kindness that's repeated often enough to feel familiar again. Because you were never broken. You were just taught to see yourself through a distorted lens. But your brain, your heart, and your whole system is capable of learning a softer language. One that says, I'm not behind. I'm not missing anything, and I am enough, even here, even now. So the work isn't about convincing the world that you are worthy. It's about gently convincing yourself. And so I invite you as we move forward in today's session to stay open to a new idea. That being enough was never something to be achieved. It was something to be remembered. And I wanted to share a story of someone I worked with recently. She was a single mother of 2 children, and she was doing everything that she could to give them a good life. She was working long hours, she was managing the home, she was trying to be both the provider and the nurturer. And yet, every time she spoke about her day, she spoke about it through the lens of failure. She would use phrases like, I feel like I'm letting them down. I feel like I should be doing more for them. I feel like they deserve a lot more than what I'm giving them. And she carried that invisible weight with her every day. The guilt, the pressure, the silent belief that she wasn't enough. And this wasn't because she was neglecting her children. Well, far from it, actually, because when we spoke about her home life, she would tell me some wonderful stories about how she read to her children each night before bed and how they would enjoy making pancakes every Sunday morning and how they would run to her after school and wrap their arms around her. But she couldn't see any of that clearly. because she was measuring herself against an impossible standard. She'd created a version of motherhood that demanded perfection, more money, more time, more energy, more of everything. And so we started gently challenging those beliefs, not by dismissing her effort, but by helping her notice what was already there, what was already working, what was already enough. And then she started to see her children through her own eyes. She started to see much more clearly their joy, their attachment, how deeply they loved being with her, how they weren't asking for more stuff. They just wanted her. And slowly she began to see herself differently, not as someone falling short, but as someone who was showing up every single day with love, with presence, with tired arms, but a full heart. And then we started to see her words change. I'm not perfect, but I'm there. I'm doing my best, and that's what counts. And maybe I am doing a good job for them and for me. And do you know what changed the most? It wasn't her circumstances, it was the way she spoke to herself. She began being kinder to herself. She began to stop apologizing for not being everything and started honoring herself for already being something extraordinary. A mother who loved, a mother who tried, a mother who showed up every day. And that was enough. So I'd like to take this time now to just turn gently inwards and reflect on ourselves. And there's no pressure here to find any answers. It's just a moment for you to pause and notice, to listen quietly to what's already within you. It's about becoming aware of the quiet stories that you've carried and imagining what might be possible if those stories began to change. So take a quiet moment to think about these questions. Are there places within me where I still believe that I'm not enough? And gently notice without judgment where those beliefs might live. Perhaps in your thoughts, in your body, in your relationships. And how do they speak to you? Where might those beliefs have come from? Were they handed to you by someone else? Were they shaped by moments when you felt unseen or not quite accepted? And can you recognize that they may not be the full truth? What parts of me are already enough, but I don't often acknowledge? Is it the way you show up? The way you care? The way you keep going even when it's hard? Can you see the quiet strength that you carry? What would it be like? What would it feel like to rest into the belief that I don't need to do more or be more to be worthy? Can you picture that version of you? One who feels safe and complete and whole. And if I allowed myself, even just for tonight, to believe that I am enough, what might begin to change? What might open up inside of me? So take your time to reflect. There's no need to rush to answers because even just asking yourself these questions is powerful. Because every time you choose compassion over criticism, every time you lean into wholeness rather than from a place of lacking, you are rewriting the story of who you are. And now we normally go to a Q&A, but today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I had a lovely reflection that somebody shared with me. And I wanted to share it with you because it was exactly why I created BreathSpace. And it was very kind of this viewer to allow me to share this with you. And this was a 38-year-old man who has been catching up with the BreathSpace videos over the past few weeks. He works in a high-pressured managerial role, and he told me that every day the pressure, the expectation, the demands in the workplace are so extreme. He's always being pressured by his seniors. And if there is ever any feedback, very rarely is there any kindness associated with it. He told me that for such a long time, it felt like whatever he did, it just wasn't enough, that he wasn't meeting the targets, there was no praise, and the bar was constantly always being raised. And slowly, that started to affect not just his performance, but his sense of self. And he said that he started to feel like a failure. And this started within his work, but eventually it seeped into his personal life too. His confidence dropped, his self-worth felt non-existent. And he reached a point where even the small things felt really heavy and difficult. And then he mentioned when he started to watch the videos, it gave him time to just stop and reflect. And he said that by taking this time out to turn off from the noise around him, it gave him a chance to just start to think differently and see things differently. So he began to notice actually how much effort he is putting in, not just at work, but in everything that he's doing, in how he shows up for his team, how he cares for his family, how he tries, even when he's tired, how he's always showing up. And he started to recognize that he wasn't lazy, he wasn't bad at his job, he wasn't a failure. He was just under this immense pressure. But he started to give himself that kindness and notice that even though he was under this immense pressure, he was doing his best. And then he began to offer himself something new, kindness, and recognizing everything that he was doing. And he began to tell himself that, he's doing all he can. And actually what he's doing is pretty good. And that this helped him make a small but significant shift in that it didn't make the pressure disappear, But it created this space for him just to see things slightly differently, but more compassionately. And he began to feel a bit more confident in himself. And to him, I want to say a huge thank you. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your courage in sharing this story and letting me share it with you out there today. Because like I said, this is what I created BreathSpace for. I wanted it to be a place where we could pause from our daily lives and just start noticing our worth, be compassionate with ourselves, be kinder with ourselves, because we are all doing our best. And I'm hoping that this story can be a light for someone else. And now let's go into our meditation and really try and bring home this feeling of I am already enough. So let's take a moment just to return to ourselves, to a quieter place beneath the noise, where being enough already exists. So begin by finding a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down, and allow your body to rest in a way that feels safe and supported. When you're ready, and if it's comfortable for you to do so, let your eyes close down or just soften your gaze. Let's begin with the breath. Bring your awareness onto your breathing. Take a deep breath in. Notice the air filling the lungs. And gently breathe out. Notice the chest falling as the air escapes and evaporates away. Bring your awareness onto your breath. Allow any noises or distractions around you to just fade away and focus your attention on your breathing. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Just let go of anything that you do not need to hold on to right now. With each breath, feel the lungs filling with calm, relaxing energy. And allow that energy to flow through the whole body. Relaxing, calming, strengthening. And as you breathe out, any stress, tension or worry that's held anywhere in the body or mind can flow out and away from you. And with each breath, invite your body and mind to relax more. Bring your attention to your face. Release any tightness in the forehead and around the eyes and in the jaw. And let that Relaxation move into your shoulders. Just let them drop. Let the weight slide off even just a little. Feel the breath move down, relaxing the arms, the hands, the fingers, moving down into the belly. Notice it rise and fall without effort. Let your whole body begin to settle. There's nowhere else to be right now. Nothing else to do. Just be in this moment. Just be in this breath. Now bring to mind the image of yourself. Not the version you show to the world, not the edited version you strive to be, but you, right now, as you are. Without the roles, without the labels, without the pressure to achieve, to improve, to perform. Just you, breathing, existing. Enough. Imagine you are sitting in a quiet room, and in front of you is a mirror that's gentle and kind. And you look into it, and instead of seeing the flaws, you begin to see the truth of what you've carried. The effort, the care, the resilience, the moments that no one saw, but you lived through anyway. And as you breathe, a simple sentence begins to rise inside of you. I am already enough. Let it repeat gently. I am already enough. I am already enough. I don't need to earn my worth. I am enough, even in my unfinished moments. Feel the truth of those words settle into your body, like a soft light that starts to fill every part of you that's been doubted or overlooked. Notice the light growing stronger and brighter, spreading deeper within you with each breath. Breathe into those words. I am already enough. And place a hand gently on your heart if that feels comfortable. And speak silently to yourself. Even here, I am worthy. Even now, I am whole. There is nothing missing in me. And let your breath carry that knowing deeper. Every time you breathe in, every time you breathe out. Welcoming yourself, letting go of old stories. as you breathe in and as you breathe out. I see myself and I accept myself. I see myself. I am already whole. And stay with that rhythm for a few moments. I see myself and I accept myself. I see myself. I am already whole. Let yourself rest in the quiet truth. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too much. You are enough. You are here, and that is enough. And now slowly begin to return to the space around you. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Feel the ground beneath you, the support that's always been there. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes and hold this feeling as you return to your day. Let it guide your choices. Let it soften your self-talk. Let it remind you that you are already enough. So thank you again for being here tonight, for giving yourself the gift of stillness, for gently exploring the question that so many of us carry. Am I enough? And you showed up with courage, you reflected with honesty, and maybe you allowed something inside to just soften. And remember that you're not your achievements, you're not your to-do list, you're not your productivity, but you are already someone to be honored. And from that place, we grow. And next time, we'll be continuing this journey with a new theme. And that theme is self-trust. Being able to reclaim your inner voice. Because so often, even when we begin to feel enough, we still second guess ourselves. We look outward for permission. We override our instincts. So this session will be all about coming back to you, learning to trust your own wisdom, your own knowing, your own way. And I also wanted to just mention that all our BreathSpace replays are now going to be available on my YouTube channel, which is at Dr. Ranj _life coach. So if you've missed anything or wanted to revisit one of the sessions, you can now access them anytime, either in the Facebook group or now on YouTube. And as always, if something has resonated tonight, or if you would like to share a reflection or ask a question for next time, please reach out via a message or email at info@drranjsagoo.com. But until then, be kind to yourself. Let your enoughness breathe, and remember that you don't need to earn your place in the world. You're already here and you belong. So thank you and see you next time.